Before we start this task, I just want to talk about the flowchart. We see here I have created a flowchart for how to solve this task. But it is important to remember that when you create a flowchart, you should write it so that you understand it. Add more details or less details depending on what your needs are. And in this case, I think this is the right balance for me, so I understand how to solve the task. And to start solving it, we need to create a new script. When we have the script, we can create the main method so we know where to write our code. The first thing we need to do is to read two numbers. But from the task, I know that we need to have error handling. So before reading the numbers, I will add the error handling. And now we have a try block where we will write our code, and then we have two excepts. One if there is a problem with the entered number, and one if there is a problem with saving to the file. So time to read the numbers, but before we read them, we can declare them and give them an initial value. And then we can read them from the user. Okay, if we have read the numbers, we have stored them in our variables, now it's time to open the file, write these two numbers to the file, and then close the file. We must never forget to close the file, so I have added it as a separate step here. So let's add that in the code. And if we take a look, we see that, all right, we use the open function with the argument, which is the name of the file that we want to open. So we open a file, which file? This file that we have specified here as an argument. Now that we have our file, we can write something to the file. What are we going to write? Well, we are going to write the number, the first number, and then the second number. But if we take a look at the first line here, we take the number that we read as a number, as an integer, we convert that to a string, and we add a new line. So this will be the first line in the file, and then by adding a new line, we switch to the second line, where we print the second number as a string, and we'll also add a new line there on the second line. And when we're finished, we close the file. Let's try to run it, but before we do that, I see that I have forgot one thing. We need to tell Python what we want to do with the file. Do we want to open it so that we can write to it, which we want in this case, or do we want to open it maybe just to read from the file? So if we add that and then we try to run our script, we can say that the number is 23, 32, and we see that we don't get any error messages, meaning that, all right, we managed to open the file, we wrote the two numbers to it, and then we close the file. We can verify it by opening the file outside of Python and just look at the file, because it is a text file, so we can read it. So what shall we take with us from this task? Well, there is the big thing about opening files, writing data to them, and closing a file. We have also used try-catch, so that is something that we need to be comfortable using. And I think those are the main things to remember from this task.